So, okay, dear soulmates, I welcome you to this private online class by Divas Fit. You are highly welcome to today's tutorial. So, first of all, we are going to be learning how to calculate the measurement and the fabric we are going to be needing for this tutorial. Okay, so I actually wanted to get my fabric, but I couldn't, as of now, I've not been able to get that. Okay, so the first thing for us to do is to know the width of the fabric that we're going to need for the length. That is up to you, because when you take your measurements, that will determine the length of the fabric that you are going to be working with. Okay, so now the first thing we are going to do is for us to determine, that is, the width of the fabric. So now my hip circumference measurement is 39 inches. Okay, divided by 4, it will give me 9.75. Okay, so now if I want this jumpsuit to be just moderate, like if I do not want it to be so wide, then I'm going to say 9.75 multiplied by 2.5, okay, which will give me 24.375. But if you want it to be just like the picture that you sent to me, then what you are going to say is your hip circumference measurement, which mine is 39, divided by 4 equals to 9.75 multiplied by 3, okay, and that will give me 29.25. okay. So now the next thing we are going to do now is for us to cross check and find out our crotch extension for the front. You know that we are going to draft the front piece first before the back. So now I will say C for the crotch extension, okay, equals to, that is your hip circumference measurement divided by 16. That will give you your crotch extension, and mine will be 2.4, but then I can just decide to use 2.5. okay, so this is just how to go about it. So this is the next process. The next thing you are going to do is for you to now determine, I told you that the wideness of your trouser depends on you. If you want it to be moderate, then you have to use your hip circumference measurement divided by 4 multiplied by 2.5. But if you want it to be really big, then you have to say your hip circumference measurement divided by 4 multiplied by 3. Okay? For example, at this point, let me say that I want to use the moderate size, which is not too much, it is not also too small. That is my hip divided by 4 times by 2.5. And what I got approximately is 24.375. What I'm going to say is now 24.375 plus 2.5. This is gotten from the crotch extension calculation. So you are going to add it together, and what I have is, so okay guys, so when I add it, I'm going to have 26.875. okay, so make sure you add yours, and that's just what we are going to use when we are going to calculate it. Okay, just the moderate measurement. So now let's head out to draft. Okay, I'll just keep this aside so that we can now start our drafting process. You know that we are just drafting only the front piece for now. We are going to draft the front. By the time we cut it out, we can now use the front pattern to cut out our back piece. So I would like to just have a straight line at this point. Alright, so make sure you get a perfect straight line. Okay, So now, on your fabric, you need to fold it into two. You know that you cannot cut it one after the other because you'll be doing this directly on your fabric. So what you are going to do is to fold your fabric into two like so. You have to fold it into two. Okay? So when it's unfolded, you should make sure that what you have here is your hip circumference measurement divided by 4 times 2.5 plus 2.5 for the crotch extension. Okay? So guys, just make sure that this fold is up to the way we calculated it. Okay? But then it's not okay for you to just leave it with that. You have to add extra 5 inches to whatever thing you have gotten to be on a safe side. 5 inches to it. Okay? Okay? But then I'll not be folding mine as because I'm working on a pattern paper. I'm just showing you how you will do yours so that it will be easier for you. Because if you have to use the pattern paper, it's going to be really wide and it's going to be consuming lots of paper. Okay? So now this wideness should be 48.75 plus 5 inches. That is what it means. Okay? So the first thing you are going to do is to mark your vertical body measurements. So I'll say from my waist to the hip, from my waist to hip, okay? Let me cross-check my measurement. From my waist to the hip is 9 inches, okay? So I'm just going to mark the 9 inches across. You have to do the same on your folded fabric. You have to mark it across many times so that you can be able to get a perfect straight line. Okay, so this is just it. So the next thing for us to do is to mark our waist to the crotch. And you know this is going to be a high waist. There is a high waist jumpsuit. It's not your normal waist. So to get your high waist jumpsuit, what you are going to do is to say your hip circumference measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5. But because this jumpsuit needs to be free, I want you to add extra 0.5 to that measurement. Okay? So dear soulmate, when marking your waist to the hip, I forgot to add 0.5. You know, you are cutting it on your fabric. So you are going to add 0.5 to your 9 inches. So now I have my crotch, the depth of my crotch at 11.2. But then I'm going to also add 0.5 to it. Okay? So I'll just have it like so. It should now be 2.5 for my measurement. Okay? So to get your crotch depth, okay, so from this point you have to go down and mark your knee. That is your waist to knee measurement. From the waistline, I'll go down to the knee measurement, and mine is 26 inches. So you need to mark this across as well to make sure that you are getting a perfect straight line. So okay, lovely soulmate, if you have any question, don't hesitate to ask your question.